Welcome back. Joining me now from Canberra is One Nation leader, Senator Pauline Hanson. Thanks for your time, Senator. I want to get straight into the company tax cuts issue. I know there's been talk that you've got the government to agree to quite an increase in apprenticeships as part of your bargaining chips, but we're yet to know whether or not you will be able to support those corporate tax cuts if they go to the Parliament for a vote this week. We anticipate they will. The government's trying to get other crossbenchers on board. Are you able to tell us where you're at with that tonight?
Peter, One Nation will be supporting the government's corporate tax cuts after a lot of deliberation, and actually I've travelled around Australia quite extensively. Just a couple of weeks ago I was in Western Australia. I went to Fortescue Metals. I had a good long talk to Twiggy, Forest and other businesses. I went through Queensland plus the other states. Look, the whole thing with this is we need to reduce the corporate tax rates, because not just for, I'm not talking about multinationals, I'm not worried about those. We have to go after them to pay their taxes here. A lot of these corporations don't pay their taxes. What we need to do is shore up and look after the Australian businesses. If we don't give them relief, Peter, what I'm hearing is they're going to shut up shop. They're either going to shut down or they're going offshore. They cannot continue with the escalating energy costs, gas and electricity. They have to have some relief, or they're going to be putting workers off and they'll start bringing in their families or doing longer hours themselves. We can't keep going the way that we're going.
So, Senator, it's interesting. In your rationale there for supporting the government on this issue, you're not talking about sweeteners that you might have got out of your negotiations. It seems to me that your direct conversations with business are going out on the ground into the Pilbara areas, speaking to big business leaders and obviously small and medium sized businesses as you get around Australia. That seems to be the determining factor as to why you will support these measures.
Well, it has. Look, the company tax cuts is all about creating jobs, and I don't believe the government when they say it is going to increase wages, but that's up to the Fair Work Commission to increase wages, not up to legislation by the government. They are hoping it will increase wages, but I can see that businesses, it will give them a boost. They need the injection. Now, this isn't going to happen for 8 years before the company tax cuts come into play, but I think it is a positive. I've also looked at the what's happened in the United States with their drop in company tax. Over there, it's a totally different system. Now the businesses, the 500 big businesses, 200 of them have actually increased jobs. So that has happened. I think we need to take that into consideration. Twiggy Forest has assured me that he will be injecting all of his money back into his company, creating more jobs and reinvesting the money. Now, he's got other businesses, the Business Council of Australia, which I've got a letter from, so did the Senate, that they intend to boost jobs, and probably not to the extent that Twiggy Forrest will do. He's a great Australian and he's doing a lot for the country. But as far as apprenticeship schemes, I've been pushing this for the last 20 years. It's 1,000 apprenticeship places. It's a pilot scheme, and it will go from rural and regional areas. I want these kids and these young adults, these young men and women to stay in their towns. I don't want them leaving their families, coming to the cities to try and get jobs. We need to reinvigorate these rural and regional areas, keep the kids there, keep the towns going. We can't have these people moving to the cities. I believe, and I've spoken to businesses for the last 20 years under my scheme, the first year the government pays 75% of the wage, the second year 50% of the wage, the third year 25% of the wage. They said they will put it on. Some businesses even said they put on 2 apprentices under that scheme.
Well, the devil's always in the detail with these apprenticeship schemes. I've seen some work and some fail. So I would encourage you, if you feel passionate about it, to demand that the government sits down with you as it's put together, the policy details put together, so it doesn't sort of end up a failed scheme with wasted money. But there's a lot to commend apprenticeship places in country Australia. I want to move to another issue. Tomorrow you're launching a book of speeches, or it'll be launched on your behalf, but it's certainly your book. I've seen the foreword of the book, and I want to just read it out to our viewers. And this is a quote from you. I may be best known for speaking out on immigration, but after 20 years in politics, I am passionate about a wide range of issues that affect Australians. If you have a copy of this book in your own hands, then you can read my own words for yourself and decide whether I am a one-issue politician. Pauline Hanson, why this book and why now?
I think it's probably the most important thing that I've done is to bring it out now. For many years, Peter, I've been taken completely out of context by the media, even by the political parties, especially the Labor and the Greens now, throwing all rubbish at me to discredit me and what I actually stand for and what I have actually said. People need to read in full what I stand for, my speeches, what I've said over the years, and actually by reading it, what I said many years ago has now eventuated, and I find that governments, whether it be the Liberal, Labor Party, the Greens, no one's got long-term vision for this country. They put up policies for the short term and it takes them up to the next election just to get re-elected, or they're appeasing the minorities. We need people in Parliament who's got a long-term vision. What are they going to do for the country? Bring it back to prosperity. Look after the generations coming through. Maintain our standard of living and our culture and our way of life. But, you know, the family law courts, that's what I've got that investigation into it to address the Family Law Act. We got the Senate inquiry into the banking sector. We got a code of conduct for the cane growers, you know, the Singaporean buy-up of land. We stopped that. You know, there's so many things that we've done and achieved, and there's so much more that I want to achieve as well.
So it's interesting, you have asked Tony Abbott to launch your book in Parliament House tomorrow. You've both had your battles in the past. You know, your much celebrated time in front of the courts and in jail was at the hand of Tony Abbott. I know that you've had a rapprochement. I know you both regard each other highly, if I can say that. Certainly I know from him. I asked him why he was going to launch your book, and he said to me, you know, if there's any chance that we can get back in the game at the next election, we have to appeal to the people that have left us for other parties like One Nation. That's in marked contrast to George Brandis's recent comments in the Senate before he departed, that One Nation was electoral poison. Who's right there, Tony Abbott, who's pragmatic, or George Brandis, who says that you're poison?
Definitely Tony Abbott, I won't argue with that one. Peter, we've been the most, I think, in our deliberations with the government and dealing with policy legislation. You know, we sit down and talk to them. It's not just stop, you know, we're not going to support this as the Labor does, even if it's good policy. You will only get good government if you've got good opposition, and we debate the issues. I came into this place saying that I will actually support legislation I believe is in the interest of the people, for the people and for the country, and I do that. They've found that they can sit down and talk to us. Labor doesn't even come knocking on my door. They're not interested in talking to me. All they can do is just ridicule. They've also said, or they've said already, they have no intentions of preferencing us. They're going to be putting us last on the how to vote ticket. So although I've had my differences with Tony Abbott in the past, he rang me when I got elected and he actually congratulated me on my election. Now, I take my hat off to the man in doing that, and yes, we've both have been at the pinnacles of our careers and to the lowest point of our careers. And my attitude is, all right, that's happened in the past, get over it, move on. And I'm here, as Tony is still here in the Parliament. He could have walked away when he lost the Prime Ministership, but he didn't. And he stuck at it, as I have done, because we believe in what we want to achieve. We may not always agree on everything, but it's having mutual respect.
So you're the largest power bloc in the Senate now, Senator Hanson, and it's clear you've been quite tough in your negotiation. I mean, the government's got a great win by getting your support, but you've got a big win on apprenticeships as well. One of the real issues is coal-fired power in this country, and there's a lot of talk about putting coal-fired power in North Queensland. We're going to lose the Liddell power station in New South Wales with no real viable alternatives. Would you consider putting the government under some pressure to put taxpayer funds on the table for a new high-efficiency, low-emissions coal-fired power station, the sort that are being built all around the world? Because Malcolm Turnbull is spending $8 billion on Snowy 2.0. It's an energy scheme, so there is plenty of argument that they can put $3 or $4 billion into new coal-fired power. Would you consider that in negotiations coming up on other pieces of legislation?
Peter, I'm totally for coal-fired power stations, especially in North Queensland. We definitely need it. We're going to have such an energy crisis. We're going through one now at the moment, and it needs to be addressed. By the time the power station is built, it's going to take years anyway. We cannot rely on renewable energy. It's just ridiculous where the Labor Party has us headed with renewables. It won't service the needs that we need with generating the power supplies that we need. And I'm all for it. I have spoken to the government about the coal-fired power station. They know my stance on it. I will keep pushing for it. We've got new-fired power stations going across the world in coal-fired power stations that are delivering the energy, and it's a lot cleaner system than what it was. We have got the best coal in the world. We are stupid for not utilising that, reducing the power costs to encourage more investment into Australia and supporting our businesses here. If we don't get it right, and I see this is a problem, we are going to lose so many businesses, industries and manufacturing who are going to shut down or go overseas. So I'm warning the Greens and the Labor Party and the Coalition, get it together as far as our energy needs in this country, because otherwise they're shutting us down.
Pauline Hanson, thank you for your time tonight. Good luck with your book launch tomorrow, and congratulations on being part of the corporate tax plan. Oh, you want to hold it up for
Peter,
me? There you go.
Everyone, I want to wish everyone a happy Easter, and don't forget by Darryl Lee. It's actually an Australian company. All the best. Happy Easter, everyone.
Thanks for your time, Pauline Hanson. Well, there you go. There's breaking news that she will support the government's tax cuts, so they've just got now a few more to round up, and they could get there by the end of the week.